I refused to defrost a single item from my chest freezer after my brother's family moved in temporarily and started eating through it like a buffet. I spent the better part of 2 years building that chest freezer up. I hunt whitetail every November. I've got a lease about 40 minutes out, and I fish through the summer and into fall. By the time cold weather hits, I've got vacuum-sealed venison stacked 3 layers deep, plus bass fillets, walleye, pike if it was a good year. I also buy chicken quarters and pork shoulders in bulk when they go on sale, and I throw those in too. Ground beef in 5-pound logs. I had a full rack of ribs I'd been saving for the 4th of July, and a pair of venison tenderloins I aged and processed myself, stuff I'd been genuinely planning around for months. Somewhere around $1,200 of protein in there at any given time, not counting the hours that went into getting it. My brother Darren is 2 years younger than me. He and his wife Krista have 2 kids, 9 and 6. End of February, he called saying they had a situation with their landlord. Water damage, mold in the walls, he didn't get into specifics, and asked if they could stay with me while they figured out a new place. 3 weeks, maybe 4. I said yes because he's my brother and I had the room. I cleared out the spare bedroom, told them they had the basement bathroom, and said help yourselves to whatever's in the kitchen. I didn't say a word about the chest freezer in the garage because it didn't cross my mind that I'd have to. First 2 weeks were manageable. A little loud, but nothing I couldn't handle. I work early, out the door by 6, so I mostly came home to a house that had already had its chaos for the day. I started buying groceries for everyone without mentioning it, which I figured was just part of being a decent host. Then one Friday afternoon, I went to grab some bass fillets I wanted to fry up. I had 12 bags in there. I counted 8. Stood there with the lid open and counted again. Still 8. That night, I asked Darren if anyone had gotten into the freezer. He said, yeah, Krista made fish tacos a couple nights back. Said it the same way you'd say the mail came. I told him I'd appreciate a heads up before they took anything out of there. He said, sure, no problem, absolutely. 3 weeks became 5. Then one afternoon, I went to grab my rack of ribs. I've been thinking about those since March, and they were gone. I checked behind everything and then went and knocked on the basement door. Darren answered. I asked about the ribs. His mother-in-law had come by Sunday, he said. Krista wanted to make something nice. Then I figured you wouldn't mind. You've got so much in there. I asked him what he thought was in that freezer. He said he didn't know, just frozen stuff. Figured it was kind of excess. I told him it wasn't excess. I told him about the lease, the fish, the bulk buying, that I planned actual meals around what was in there. I said I needed them to stop going in without asking me first. He crossed his arms. Said family doesn't keep score like that. Said, you'd really rather let it sit there than feed your niece and nephew? I said the kids had access to a full fridge and I'd been covering everyone's groceries for 2 months on top of my own bills. He went quiet. Said fine. He got it. It wouldn't happen again. That was 3 weeks ago. Last Thursday night, I went out to the garage and stood at the freezer before I opened it. I don't usually do that. I lifted the lid. The tenderloins were gone. 8 pounds of ground venison gone. A roast I'd been planning to do low and slow on a Sunday. I stood there for a while just staring at what was left. I didn't go knock on any doors. I went inside, found the padlock I used for my storage shed, and I locked the freezer. Darren found it the next morning. He came into the kitchen while I was making coffee and said, you put a lock on the freezer. He said, so you're seriously locking food away from your family now? I told him they had a full fridge, a stocked pantry, and I'd been paying for their groceries for 2 months without saying a word about it. What they didn't have was access to food I'd spent a year putting together. That was the whole thing. He said, what kind of person does that? I said the kind whose family took from him twice after he'd already asked them to stop. Krista came in from the hallway. Said I was making her kids feel like they weren't welcome in my house. I said they were welcome to everything I'd offered them. She said, fine. If that's how you want to be, we'll figure somewhere else out. I said I hope they found somewhere great. They've been saying that for 11 days.